The road to the UFC this Friday from Shanghai, China, from Shanghai Indoor Stadium. 11 fights on this card, and the reason I'm here, I'll be honest with you, is because of the two UFC fights on this card. Yes, I don't think the UFC's ever done this, put official UFC fights on a different card, not being a UFC card. Obviously, we have UFC Fight Night Walker versus Zhang this weekend. The night before, there are two UFC fights, as we have got the Mongolian Tumendemberel taking on Terrence Saeteurn, and in the main event, Shi takes on Bruna Brasil. Two UFC fights top the card, but there are 9 road to the UFC fights prior to those two fights. We're going to break this entire card down. Again, we are primarily here for the two UFC fights. I will quickly go over the 9 preliminary bouts, and I'll get to that again in a second here. But before we get into the video, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more UFC, PFL, and Contender Series content here on the channel. Yesterday, a 4-in-1 day on the Contender Series for us. And again, earlier this week, we posted our UFC Fight Night Shanghai predictions. That's linked in the description down below, along with our PFL predictions. That PFL card is tomorrow, so go make sure to check out that video. UFC Shanghai best bets for us as well, folks, will be tomorrow here on the channel. Main channel, Greedo plays daily MLB best bets and MLB best bets, and our college football week 0 predictions are out. Again, we're doing that weekly along with the NFL, college basketball, and the NBA coming up as well. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna have to break down this entire card, or look at this entire card. So I'll be honest, I didn't make graphics for the 9 preliminary bouts just because I don't know the most about these guys. I'm not going to pretend like I know the most. I do know these guys a little bit, so this is what I can get out of Yu-Sung Jang and Kit Campbell. Yu-Sung Jang is much younger than Kit Campbell. I believe he's like 8 years younger than this guy. Campbell's from Australia. Yu-Sung Jang is 22. He's one of the Korean Zombie guys. I'm not going to bet against the guy coming out of the Korean Zombie gym. Okay? That's the simplest way I can put that one. This fight's at welterweight. I'm going to take the fighter who's 22 years of age compared to the 31-year-old Kit Campbell. Right? It just makes sense for me. 68% of voters, as you can see, are going with Jang. 32% are going with Campbell. I'm going to be taking Yu-Sung Jang to win the fight, and I think he's going to be able to get this one done by first round knockout. Our next fight is going to be Yin versus Aaron Tao. Hesitantly, I'm going Aaron Tao. I believe 125, and I know 125 is Aaron Tao's weight class. We got to see Aaron Tao in the Contender Series last year, and he took on super prospect Elijah Smith. Elijah Smith obviously coming off the huge slam knockout victory over Toshiyomi Kazama just 2 weeks ago. Well, this is how he got in the UFC, beat Aaron Tao. Elijah Smith, again, I've been concerned at times with the Elijah Smith cardio, and that's still yet to be seen. I think Smith will be a top 15 fighter in the next 4 years, and I legitimately think he's one of the top prospects to watch out in all of the sport, and I was saying that prior to his slam knockout win. However, Aaron Tao just ran into the wrong guy on the Contender Series. He's a CKB guy. He does the whole Kai Kara fronts thing. I'm not gonna do the tongue out, but you know what I mean. He's one of those guys. Nothing wrong with that. But he was fighting at 135 against Elijah Smith. He now gets to fight his natural weight class at 125, and I believe he knocked out his first opponent on road to UFC. Yes, won by TKO in his first fight against an 8-0 fighter. His only loss is to Elijah Smith, and again, he's a 5'4", 125-pounder. Again, something that just won't cut it at 135. When you saw the fight against him and Elijah Smith, I mean, Elijah Smith was just huge in that fight. So Aaron Tao now gets the Black Panther, Xia Yin. I'll be honest, don't know much about Yin. I just don't think he's on the level of Tao. Lost back-to-back fights and lost on the road to the UFC last year. He beat Kai Yoshida in his last one 2 months ago. I believe Aaron Tao is going to win. I think he looked really good in his first fight from what I've seen. And again, I don't put much into him losing to Elijah Smith. Elijah Smith, I think, is going to be a really good fighter. So I'm going Aaron Tao first round knockout. Next up, Lawrence Lee versus Vian Yi Nijim. I believe that's how you say his name. You got CKB's Lawrence Louis versus Van E Nijim. I don't know how to say his name. Let's be honest. He's a Vietnamese fighter. Van won via knockout in his last fight, and Lawrence Lee won by decision. Lawrence Lee is a city kickboxing guy. Not the most power out of him. He's going to stay on the outside, use his kicks effectively, and kind of outpoint you. I won't call him a point fighter because like the definition of a point fighter is Michael Venom Page. And that's not, I'm not going at Michael Venom Page. I'm just saying like that's what a traditional point fighter is. And Joe Rogan is going to continue to rave about those type of guys for years now. Anyways, I think Lawrence Lee probably wins. I think he's good enough in the striking realm to not get knocked out because that's what the Vietnamese fighter is going to hunt. I'm not picking him because he's from CKB either. I don't think CKB is as good of a gym as you think it is, or at least the public seems it to be, or thinks it to be. I know, again, they are CKB's best days were like 2020. But regardless, I think Lawrence Louis is going to win the fight. I think he's going to win it by decision. I see it hard. I find it hard to imagine him getting knocked out. It's only a split decision loss a couple years ago. I'm going Lawrence Louis by decision. Next up, Chang Min Yoon from South Korea taking on Sebastian Slay. Going Sebastian. From what I know, decent wrestling, should be able to shoot on Chang Min Yoon and see success down there. This is a fight at 145 pounds. Sebastian, 9-1 from Australia, training out of Wollongong, New South Wales. Chang Min Yoon from South Korea. I'm going Sebastian to win the fight by unanimous decision. Again, I'll be honest, guys, again, I'm here for the two main fights on this card. I know American regional MMA. I do, for the most part. Like, I try to keep track of Fury, LFA, CFFC as much as I can. I don't really keep up with, South Korean or Korean promotions, Asian promotions. I don't know them. Again, I know some of the top guys in Eternal and Hex, but not to the most of my abilities. So, again, some of these fights I'm a little shaky on. I'm going Sebastian by decision. I don't have much to say about this one, though, I'll be honest. Next up, we've got Agulue taking on the Mongolian Namsri Batibiar from Mongolia. I'm going to go with the 20-year-old who's knocked everybody out so far in his career. Yeah, he's 13-1 at 20 years of age. Okay. I'm going to take him to win. Okay. He's 5'9" at 125 pounds. He's got power at 125 pounds. Yeah, that seems like a good formula to me. I'm going with the Chinese fighter by first round knockout. Next up, we go to Marfan, versus Jae-Hung Park. So you get another Korean zombie MMA guy here taking on Dom Marfan. I think Jae-Hung Park is too young, though. He's 23. His nickname's the First Prospect, which is something. Lost on the road to the UFC last year to Shin Haraguchi. He's won back-to-back, beating a 13-5 fighter in his last fight by TKO. He gets Dom Marfan, who beat an undefeated guy by decision in his last one. I'm going to go with Dom Marfan. He's huge for 155 pounds, relatively speaking, to Jae-Hung Park. I'm going to go with Fan. He's 5'11 at 155 pounds, and I think, again, that reach advantage is not all that great, but I do believe it's going to make a difference. I'm going the fighter training out of Australia, and Dom Marfan to win by decision. Next up, we go to Tumendemberel versus Sim Kai Wong. I'm going to go with the Chinese fighter, who's, again, knocking everybody out. Last fight was an uppercut knockout victory. Is a little bit of a can crusher, not going to lie. I mean, you see this with WLF Wars. I believe that is the best promotion in China, at least what my knowledge of Chinese regional MMA. That's the number 1 out there. WLF Wars, I don't know. There's some really good fighters that come from there, and there's just some fighters just like former road to the UFC winners, like Rong Zhu has fought there. There's been good Chinese fighters that come out of WLF Wars. Zhang Wei Li came into WLF Wars as well. By the way, where is she? Does she fight anymore? I don't know. I'm gonna go with Tumendemberel to win by first round knockout. Wong's last victory is over a 17-1 guy. Yeah. Again, everyone who's on this card has won the road to the UFC, right? This is the second round fights. I'm going to go with Tumendemberel to win the fight by first round knockout. Next up, Yuen Ren versus Sang-Uk Kim. I believe, this is one I was going to go Sang-Uk Kim. I'm going underdog here. Yuen Ren has been nothing but a can crusher so far in his career. Sang-Uk Kim lost to Rong Zhu last year. That's the guy who lost to Rong Zhu. It's only lost in the Zuffa promotions or in the TKO promotions. Going the underdog here, I'm going Sang-Uk Kim by decision. He's so much bigger than his opponent here in Yuen Ren. Sang-Uk Kim is 6 feet tall at 155 pounds, and Yuen Ren is 5'9". I'm going with the guy who's 6 feet tall and only lost to Rong Zhu in the last 4 years, okay? I'm going Sang-Uk Kim to win by decision, and also he's not a complete can crusher like the Chinese fighter here in Yuen Ren. Okay, I do know Nakamura. Okay, I've seen some hype on Kyuchiro Nakamura from Japan, from Hokkaido, Japan, taking on the underdog Kaiwi Lee. That's Lee's nickname, the underdog. Nakamura is knocking everybody out, from what I've heard. Won his last fight by knockout on the road to the UFC. Kaiwin Lee's coming off a knockout victory as well. He has a loss to Yiza, who won the road to the UFC last year. So again, like Rong Zhu, Yiza winning at 145 pounds last year. for the road to the UFC. I believe Nakamura is going to win the fight by knockout. Everything I've seen out of Nakamura, he's going to chase that finish. He's going to look to put your lights out. I like that. I'm going to go with Kiichiro Nakamura to win the fight by first round knockout. There's a reason he's ending the road to the UFC portion of this card. They do believe in the guy, and I think he's going to win. Okay, that does it for the road to the UFC. Okay, we're here for these fights. Let's go. Our first fight out of 2 today for the UFC from the road to the UFC card. We have got Tumendemberel, I still know how to say his first name, Tumendemberel, the Art of the Knockout Tumendemberel from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. He takes on Terrence Saeteurn. Okay, so for Tumendemberel, this is a guy who fought and won on the road to the UFC at 125 pounds, won the road to the UFC via rear naked choke. First fight in the UFC in Macau, China last year, takes on Carlos Hernandez. We took Tumendemberel to win. He did not win. You can make the case that he should have got the nod, and I will say, again, the case isn't horrible. Doesn't do much outside of the first round, right? Tumendemberel has a strong start to the fight. He knocks down Carlos Hernandez in the first round. Not much activity on either side. Hell, the final significant strike count is 44-26 in favor of Carlos Hernandez. However, right, Tumendemberel drops him in the first, banks that first round. Second round, Carlos Hernandez just out-grapples Tumendemberel, takes him down 3 times, and there's not much the Mongolian can do. Third round is a boring striking fight where Tumendemberel was just struggling to pull the trigger, and when he did, he was just swinging and missing huge. What he was doing in the first round, he was precisely hitting on most of his strikes. He was finding good angles. In that third round, he was a little hesitant, and when he threw, he was just swinging. I don't know if that's first fight nerves and jitters. It's your first fight in the UFC. You're fighting in front of a sold-out crowd in Macau, China. But I don't like that, man. I didn't like how he fought that fight. Yeah, the guy's got power. It's so hard, I believe, to rely on a fighter at 125 pounds that is a power striking fighter and a fighter who, again, relies on their power. How many guys at 125 have been purely knockout based that you've actually seen have really great success in the UFC? Legitimately, think about it. Obviously, Deiveson Figueiredo, stands out. But other than that, who is a knockout artist you can think of at 125 pounds? They don't really exist. Let's just call it how it is. They don't, right? And sure, there are going to be those special occasions and special exceptions. I don't think Tumendemberel is that type of exception, though. He's not the best wrestler. We've seen this, right? Carlos Hernandez took him down 4 times. We saw on the road to the UFC in his fight against Top Nuai Kirwam. He got taken down 6 times in that fight. Only stuffed 1 takedown in the entire bout. Niram went 6 for 7 on takedowns in that fight. Don't love that against the guy, again, who's in the UFC now and taking on Terrence Saeteurn, who has a wrestling background, who can, go in there and really scramble with you. I think Saeteurn's pretty good. Again, he just hasn't been tested. He's fought in Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. Okay, so the Sacramento-based promotion is probably the biggest promotion in NorCal. It 100% is, actually. Saeteurn is from Fairfield, I believe. Yes, he's from Fairfield, California, or trains out of Fairfield. Regardless, though, he's 7-1 in Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. Like, he's been in that promotion since its inception. Back in 2022, his only losses to Lake Guy back in 2023 at Uriah Faber A1. Guy is now 8-0 and should probably be getting a call to the Contender Series very shortly. Coming off a Bobby Serrano victory as well. Anyways, Saeturn's only losses to, again, an undefeated guy who's 8-0. He is the reigning defending Uriah Faber A1 champion, as he defended his championship in his last one against Isaiah Torres by unanimous decision. Now, they don't go 5 rounds in Uriah Faber's, promotion. They only go 3 for championship fights. Regardless, though, he has defended the belt over there, and now he gets Tumendemberel on somewhat of a short notice call. He's supposed to take on Royce Butler in Uriah Faber's promotion. Instead, right, he's been booked in the UFC. I think his wrestling is going to give Tumendemberel a lot of trouble. I watched him fight David Lopez in Cage Warriors as well. It's a decent scrap because Saeteurn, he can take a punch and he's willing to throw too. Like, he's always going to be throwing something at you. Guys, I'm going to take Terrence Saeteurn to win this fight. Not impressed with Tumendemberel's first fight in the UFC. I wanted to, get excited. I wanted him to win because I picked him to win and I had a little bit of money on Tumendemberel. He couldn't pull the trigger. And I just don't love a guy who, I don't like fighters who are Chito Vera coated at 125. And I know Chito Vera only fights 10 pounds heavier, but it's so hard to perfect that style of fight. Okay, I'm not the best defensive wrestler, and this is Tumendemberel. I'm not the best of defensive wrestlers. I rely on my power. I don't really throw much because I believe I'm going to win rounds based off damage, but it's hard to win rounds based on damage when you're only landing 14 punches. Saeteurn's a guy who's going to get into Tumendemberel's face, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Tumendemberel goes out there and, wobbles and rocks Terrence Saeteurn with every strike that he throws. That could happen, but I do believe the pressure style wrestling out of Terrence Saeteurn and just the overall volume is going to be too much for Tumendemberel in this one. Don't get me wrong, is Saeteurn going to finish the guy? No, probably not. But the way he fights, I believe the pace that he puts on is just going to be too much for the Mongolian here in Tumendemberel. I'm going with the UFC debuting fighter and Terrence Saeteurn to win the fight by decision. I believe his wrestling is going to be huge, and it's something that we're not really seeing in this fight. Tapology, or people are seeing in this one. Tapology voters, 80% of picks are going with Tumendemberel, 20% are going with Terrence Saeteurn. If Tumendemberel is going to win, it will be in the first round. If Saeteurn can get it out the first, I fully expect him to win the bout. I'm going Terrence Saeteurn to beat Tumendemberel from Mongolia by unanimous decision. I'm still not even going to try with the Mongolian's first name. Give me Terrence Saeteurn by unanimous decision. We move on now to, I guess, the main event. Here it is. In the strawweight division, Shi takes on Bruna Brasil. A little odd that they put this here, just because of Shi last fight. I mean, a lot was made out of her knockout, and well-deserved. Her knockout was incredible in her last fight in Macau, China, over Qiaoxin Feng. She goes out there and head kicks this woman and shuts her lights out to the point where she was out for about 5 minutes, where they had to stop the broadcast, cut to commercial, and she was still out. It was like when Chaos Williams knocked out Abdulrazak Al-Hassan. One of the scarier things you're going to see ever in a mixed martial arts promotion is when you cut to commercial, a fighter's out, and they're still out. Scary stuff. I mean, Shi I can't call it dominance because it was a kind of competitive fight. She was winning, but my goodness, that head kick. Gross. You don't see stuff like that at 115 pounds. You just don't. She was a plus 320 dog in that fight. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I don't know if she's really that good, though. Yeah, she wins, and it's a great finish. She had struggled in the road to the UFC, had a very close fight against Hu Shang Dong prior, as she was a plus 260 dog in that fight. Beats Feng in the championship fight of that, of road to UFC. I have to say it, and I think she's better than this fighter, and I think if they ever fought, it would probably be at 125 pounds. Younessi Duben is the one comp I will make. Younessi Duben was a plus 450 dog on the Contender Series. She landed a nice overhand right and knocked out the huge favorite Shannon Clark in the first round. She got a UFC contract because of her knockout victory, obviously, right? Duben comes into the UFC and immediately gets steamrolled by Carly Judas. It was just a levels fight. Judas was very clearly the better fighter, and she puts out Duben in the very first round. Again, in 1 minute and 40 seconds. Kind of proving, all right, Duben probably shouldn't even be here. I think Shi is better than Duben. Again, if they ever fought, I think Shi would win. She's just really undersized. And the thing is, she's not really known for her power. Again, that just happened in her last fight. Everything I had seen out of Shi prior to that fight against Feng, a lot of wrestling, will kind of mix it up striking-wise, but she's trying to wrestle you for the most part. We'll see. Bruna Brasil, fighting out of the MMA nerds, or fighting nerds, excuse me. That's one of the gyms, I believe she cross-trains, but training out of Brazil, is coming off loss to Kong Wang. Lost in Australia to Kong Wang by decision. She had beaten Molly McCann prior to that by unanimous decision. Can't spell meatball without back-to-back L's. But Bruna Brasil has been the definition of a 50 fighter so far in the UFC. Wins on the Contender Series against Marnik Man, then loses to Denise Gomez, beats Shanna Bannon, loses to Loma Lukbumi, beats Molly McCann, and then loses to Kong Wang, and gets completely outstruck in the Kong Wang fight too. And Bruna Brasil could just not get going in that fight. I don't know, man. I really go either way on this one. If you want to bet on this card, I would rather bet on Terrence Saeteurn. I think you're going to get great value on Saeteurn on this card, just because I think people don't know who he is, and they're going to see Tumendemberel in his knockouts. He's fighting, China, Mongolia. It's close enough, I think a lot of people are going to take Tumendemberel just because, again, he's fighting in that Asia region. I firmly believe Terrence Saeturn's winning that fight. This one is so extremely tough to predict because I I'm scared that Shi Ming is just gonna be like Yunesi Duben. I'm so serious, where she just loses and looks horrible. I would not expect her to win it all by knockout, just because it's not what she does. Bruna Brasil doesn't have the most power either. She got knocked down and knocked out by Denise Gomez back in 2023 in Kansas City, Missouri. I think we just see a stand-up fight. Well, yeah, that's obviously what we're going to get. We're going to get a stand-up fight. I don't think it's the most eventful. I'm going Shi Ming. For the reason, guys, if the fight's close, Shi Ming's going to win. She's just going to. The UFC kind of knows what they want here. They want Shi Ming to win. Obviously, it's the story, oh, she's a dentist. Her parents don't know that she fights. Like, it was a cool story, and they sat her out for a whole 10 months, and they bring her back to main event a Road to the UFC card, oddly enough. But I do believe she beats Bruna Brasil. Brasil's just mid. She doesn't do anything all that well. I don't think her grappling is able to completely take over a fight against Shi Ming. Like, yeah, she took down Molly McCann, but, like, you know, guys, you could go, I'm so serious, you could go on, like, Hinge or Tinder, start swiping, and in 10 swipes, you could probably find a woman on there who could probably beat Molly McCann in a fight, okay? It's like, it's not that difficult. So, I'm not going to put too much into that. Again, she got simply outstruck and dominated by Kong Wang in her last fight, and I get it, Kong Wang is good, and that was Bruna Brasil up a weight class, but I believe, right, Shi Ming's got the promotional backing. If it's a close fight, she's gonna get the decision. Bruna Brasil has to go to her in China. It's a road game for Shi Ming, or sorry, for Bruna Brasil. The crowd, if there is one, if there's a big one, is going to be all behind the Chinese fighter, and I believe Shi Ming is going to win. I think it's going to be a closely contested striking matchup that I just believe Shi Ming is barely able to edge out, and again, if it is close, they will give it to the Chinese fighter in Shi Ming. Give me Ming by unanimous decision. So folks, thank y'all for watching our Road to the UFC predictions here for Shi Ming and Bruna Brasil in the main event. Will we do another one of these with the Road to the UFC? Probably not, unless you want to see it. Again, if you want to see it, I will get into tape study for a lot of these fighters in the undercard. I'm not big on the, you know, Chinese and, you know, Asian regional scene. I'm just not. Korean regional scene, Japanese regional scene, even Australian and Oceanic regional scene. I'm just not. If you want me to get into it, again, I can break down the next one whenever the fight card does happen. But again, the main reason I'm here is for the first two UFC fights, or the last two fights on the card being UFC bouts. So anyways, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for our UFC Shanghai best bets here on the channel as well, so stay tuned for that. Go check out the main channel. Greedo plays MLB best bets and college football weekly predictions as well, and college football best bets coming soon as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.